AITA for not wanting anyone but my husband near my room when I have my baby. I'm 38 weeks pregnant and there has been much conversation with my mother and my mill about who will be in the room when I have my baby and where they will wait if they aren't allowed in the room. For context, my mother is obnoxious at best, cannot stand when attention is not on her directly and will make crude or obscure jokes to try to keep the room's attention, and is so dramatic. It's a given she'll overstep and try to tell the doctor something about her birthing experience to warn them of possible issues I may have or be overly involved. My mill, well, we can't even trust she'd show up to the hospital sober for the event. My mom has been trying to play the guilt game with not being in the room. She's even gone so far as getting random strangers, waiters at restaurants, cashiers, etc., to side with her. The issue is a lot of people side with her and will ask me why I wouldn't let my own mother in the room for the birth of her grandson. Do moms have some right I'm unaware of to be involved? Because last I checked I'm giving birth and I should have a right to some peace of mind while doing it. Also, is it an asshole move to say I don't even want them in the waiting room? I seriously cringe at the idea of being swarmed by them right after having my baby. What did everyone have family do during their birthing process? AITA for calling my tall mom a giant woman after she made fun of my height all night. My mom is over 6 feet 0 inches tall and I 23 am not. We were at a wedding last night and my mom wore heels, which is totally fine. I'm happy she has the confidence to do it. Needless to say, the already obvious height difference becomes more significant. When I first arrived, she bent down to hug me and said, "OMG honey, did you shrink?" Then there was a Polaroid photographer there, and for one of the group pictures I stood next to her. Then a few other relatives stood in front of me, so the photographer asked the shorter people to come in front. Then my mom reiterated it, looking at me, and said, "Little people to the front," and ushered me in front of her. So now I'm standing directly in front of her and she can easily see over me. Her chin clears the top of my head with plenty of room to spare. After the pic, she brought over a copy to show me and she said, "Look how tiny you are." With a giggle. So I said, "No, you're just a giant woman, plus you're wearing heels." After that she said, "You wish you were as tall as me," and accused me of having little man syndrome, which didn't feel like a joke. She kinda gave me the cold shoulder after that, and my aunt, who's also over 6 feet, said that it's rude to talk about a tall woman's height because tall women are self-conscious, even though my mom made multiple remarks. First, AITA for calling her a giant woman. AITA for not telling my mom the truth about my wife's Tiffany's bracelet and not comforting her while she was crying. My wife and I are staying with my mom and doing everything we can to get out. I already feel like shit and don't need to be shamed for it. My mom despises my wife, like I can see the hatred in her eyes. It is a bit scary actually. She isn't too fond of me either these days. My wife had a birthday recently and I didn't get her a gift beyond flowers. I felt bad, but our priority has to be saving right now. Her mom, however, did send a Tiffany's bracelet. It really brightened her day. However, my mom came downstairs and saw the box and just jumped to the conclusion that I had bought it, and began screaming that how dare I spend money like that while living in her house. I tried to correct her, but I couldn't talk over her screaming. She then told her fiancé to keep us away from her and burst into tears. He went after her and they were in the room for about an hour. I did walk past at one point and hear her crying, but TBH, I felt like she could cry if she wanted to jump at conclusions and scream at me like that. Finally she came out and I told her that Mill bought the bracelet. She didn't say anything, but her fiancé blew up about what is wrong with me and why would I let her cry like that. Honestly, I don't feel that bad. She chose to assume something and react like a crazy person. Additional info: this was a one-time incident. My mom makes it clear she hates us living here, but she isn't mentally ill. She isn't a threat. She had one singular breakdown after holding in her feelings for a long time. My wife chooses to live here. She is an active participant in our decisions and agrees this is our best opportunity. We can't live with Mill as she lives on the other side of the country.
AITA for not being helpful anymore after my coworkers didn't congratulate me on my wedding. Hi all. I'll try to be concise. My husband, M38, and IIF 32, got married in July. Since we work in the same place, but in different teams, I thought the contrasting treatment is very telling. In our workplace, it's very common to gather a token amount of cash and a card. He got gifts from his team, the neighboring team, and some co-workers in private. I got one co-worker who's been a rock after the Rona, and was invited to our wedding. The rest of my team didn't bother. However, since I was somewhat hurt, I stopped helping out with their jobs and solely focused on mine. I'm in a project whilst the others are working in a hotline minus and effectively, most of them now have to bother our SIS instead of me. Here comes the issue. The SIS have asked me to please start helping out again, since it's been challenging for them. But I said that I don't see this as my issue anymore, especially since my team showed me they don't appreciate me. I was told that they of course did not forget me, and I would get something in September. I reiterated that one card without money or shit in July would have been appreciation. Scrambling to pretend to care about me 3 months after the fact is kinda disgusting, and I'd rather they didn't put on a show. Now my team is being extra nice, and all I want is be left alone, and not having to deal with their problems. I've been told I'm petty and should just be normal again and let them make a celebration in my honor in September, which I vehemently disagree with to the point I actively avoid the team by switching to home office when they gather. AITA for shunning the team after they didn't even congratulate me verbally on my wedding. Info: yes, other people get gifts for birthdays, weddings, babies and stuff. I always pitched in or organized the celebratory part with food and drinks. A huge point of contention is that I don't gather paperwork at the office anymore, which I did since all of my team is in the home office and sensitive data can't lie about. Now paperwork is either not being done or falls back on the SIS. Same with 5 to 6 standard tasks no one figured out how to do. I refuse to teach them since knowledge transfer takes time, and I don't want to take the time to help. AITA for telling my girlfriend that she only likes me when she needs me. We've been in a relationship for under 6 months now. At first things were great. The sparks were flying and we were very intimate. We live separately, but would see each other 3 to 4 times a week. Now trying to hang out with her is like pulling teeth. None of the circumstance have changed, no situation has come into play that should change things. When I do see her, she never wants to have sex anymore and is always spotting or too tired to do so. We haven't had sex in almost 2 months now. However, I've noticed recently that when she needs me, she'll reach out to me. She doesn't want to hang out but asked me if I can come over and do her breaks. I did. We ate lunch, and she said that she had to leave and visit her sister. Her washer was stuck in spin, so I came over and took it out of spin by pressing like 2 buttons lol. She asked me if I could redo her flower beds. She asked me help her paint her bathroom. I came over and did the whole thing myself. My birthday just passed, and I told her I wanted to go out for it. She ended up working home health aide, and told me we'd make it up some other time. It's been a week, no plans are in place as of yet. At least she sent me a happy birthday text lol. Am I putting up with too much? Does this woman 26 even like me? LOL. AITA for not telling my friend her mom was alive. I 32F have / had a best friend, Louisa, 35F, who is a prankster at heart. I hate pranks, I find them mean and super cruel. Louisa knows not to prank me since it upsets me. 3 months ago, she had pranked a mutual friend Max, 35M, by hiding his car keys somewhere in his house. What she didn't know is that the next day was the day he was supposed to drive me to my final exam. My car had broken down days before. Because he couldn't find his keys, he couldn't drive me and I had to get a cab who arrived late and I was not allowed in the exam room and failed the exam. My MBA is being paid for by my employer and this is now causing me a lot of issues and might have to pay back what my company spent. To make things tragic, the day after my failed exam, Max's mom got into an accident while on vacation in Florida. We live in Georgia, and couldn't drive to the hospital since he was still missing his keys. Max's mom ended up passing away before he managed to get to the hospital, and was alone for 2 days waiting for her son. Louisa knew this, but still didn't tell Max that she had hidden the keys or offered to help. It took Louisa 3 more weeks to confess that she was the one who had hidden the keys. Both my friend and I were furious. A few days ago, Max decided to take revenge by calling Louisa with a fake number and pretended to be a doctor calling from a hospital in Ohio where Louisa's estranged mom lives. The doctor then proceeded to let Louisa know that her mother had passed away, and she was her next of kin and asked Louisa to come to the hospital. Louisa was obviously distraught and left for Ohio the next day. When she arrived at the hospital, there was no record of her mother, and that's when she found out the call was fake. She called me from Ohio to ask if I knew who had pranked her, and I told her it was probably somebody whose life she ruined because of her stupid pranks and hung up on her. Now she's convinced I was in on the prank, and she got all of our friends to turn against me and Max. I wasn't aware of the prank until after Max called her, but I also didn't warn her before she left for Ohio. AITA. My wife did not have sex with me for years when I was depressed. AITA for considering leaving her now that I'm back to normal. Throwaway account as my wife follows my main account. My wife 34F and I 34 meters have been married for 9 years, together for 14, and we have 2 children. Long story short, prior to this year, I was depressed. This period lasted for almost 3 years, and was a culmination of various things: my best friend dying, work stress, life in general. During this time period, I did not have sex with my wife even once. My libido had drastically decreased, but whenever I did initiate, my wife said she wasn't in the mood, and wasn't feeling attracted to me. That really hurt me, and was also probably another of the causes of my depression. However, starting this year, I made a resolution to improve my life outlook whatever necessary, and at least fake it till I make it. I started going out more, going back to the gym again. I was a gym addict before I was depressed, and had a more positive outlook on life. It's been almost 9 months now, and I can say I'm the fittest I've ever been because I really slog it out at the gym and take out all my frustrations there. I am also generally much happier, and have a very active life. My sex life has also drastically improved, and we have sex frequently. However, that is the only thing that really bothers me. While the sex is great, I don't feel any emotion or love for my wife. I still feel very hurt that my wife rejected me for years and told me many times she was not attracted to me. Would I be the off for considering leaving her now that I have my life in order? I don't think my wife stuck with me at my lowest, and that has severely impacted my love for her.